The UK economy is not working for millions and millions of families. And at the same time, the education system is not working for larger and larger numbers of children. So could there be a connection between these two? Welcome to Bonkers Economics. This is where we look at the problems of the UK economy using these images that I've created, you can see. And this is episode 9 in our series, 12 Reasons Why the UK Economy is Broken. And today we're looking at this image here, which is all about education. Education is critical to economic success, and we can see here some of the issues that the education system faces. So what we have here in green is the number of children who are eligible to receive free school meals, the number of children in that group who are achieving the basic minimum standard at GCSE, which is a grade 4 or better in English and maths. And you can see that it's well under half of children in that cohort who are achieving that minimum standard. So that's not great. And then up here in yellow, we've got the rest of the pupils, those who are not eligible for free school meals, so better off in general, and they're doing rather better. About 3/4 of them are achieving this minimum standard. So that tells us something quite important about inequality, because we know that that's a big issue in the UK economy. We've seen it over here with this image, which shows healthy life expectancy from the wealthier and the least wealthy parts of society, which is a huge difference of 20 years. So the inequality we're seeing there in healthy life expectancy starts here. It starts at school. And this picture is reflected in how people experience their lives and how long they live and the amount of wealth they're able to create in their lives too. So it's a huge issue just in those terms, but there's an even bigger issue lurking here, because although this first blue block here represents the difference between the two cohorts, that's the achievement difference, if you like. If we look at the 3 blue blocks taken together, then that's all the pupils who are failing to achieve this basic minimum standard, and that is over 1/3 of the total. So over 1/3 of our pupils in our schools are not achieving that basic minimum standard at GCSE. And that has huge implications for them, for their lives, and for the economy. And what it suggests is that there's something wrong with the way the system works, because those children fundamentally are being failed. And we've seen that there's been an enormous growth, for example, in the number of children who are manifesting special educational needs. Now, the word special there should really apply to the children. All children are special and all children learn in slightly different ways. And what that's telling us is that a large and increasing number of pupils are not being taught in the way that works for them. They're not able to learn in the way that works for them because the methods that are being applied in schools and the examination techniques and the way that knowledge is being put in and then extracted in exams, which don't really work for a lot of pupils, that's way out of date, and it's not working for an increasingly large number of pupils these days. So there's a big problem there. And then there's a big problem for the economy, because we depend upon our young people growing up and be able to create wealth to pay our pensions and to keep society going and to keep the economy going. So it really matters. And if we don't do something about it, then we're going to end up with an education system and economy which is going to continue to fail. And it's particularly important with the advent of AI, incidentally, because the AI is changing the entire employment landscape. And what AI does is it makes knowledge and simple things that we've traditionally learned at school very, very easy to do and very easy to acquire. We don't need to learn the dates of the kings and queens of England or anything of that sort. We don't need to learn those sort of rudimentary, sort of factual things that we regurgitate for purposes of exams and then instantly forget. What we need to learn is how to manage society in all sorts of other ways. We need to learn emotional skills. We need to learn relational skills. We need to learn creative activities. We need to learn how to cooperate with our fellows to create wealth in our lives. We need to understand how society works as an organism. And we need to understand what our relationship will be with the technology which is going to be advancing us but also challenging us in the future. And all of that requires a completely different approach to life in school. It requires a completely different approach to the way that we test children in school and we assess the process of education. And we are so far behind on that that it's just not true. So really this is telling us that the education system isn't working, and because it's not working for the least successful children, that probably also means it's not working for the most successful ones too, because they can probably succeed in these terms without too much effort. But what they're not getting is equally important. If they're not getting the creative input, they're not learning creative skills, they're not learning physical skills, they're not learning practical skills, they're not learning to challenge society, they're not learning to challenge the assumptions of society, they're not learning to make their own way in the world, and they're not learning to create viable and productive relationships in the world, all of which are skills that can be taught fundamentally in a school environment. If they're not doing all of that, then they're going to also start at a disadvantage. It's all very well having 3 grade A's at A-level, for example, but that isn't going to help you if everything you're learning has been learnt twice as fast and twice as successfully by some sort of computer somewhere. So that's the challenge for the future, and that's why the education system needs to change if the economy is going to prosper. So anyway, that's the summary. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please do press the like button underneath, because that's very important, and please also do subscribe if you haven't done so, and thank you if you have. And please check out the website where all the data behind these images can be found, along with much else besides. And you can also, there on the website, you can buy postcards of these images, which are great as sort of conversation starters with your families and friends. Thanks very much.